what the end of November to have this complete. And that would include public processes within the cities to introduce the city population to the proposed new flood elevations.
This is the one to adopt the hydraulic and hydrologic analysis.
Analysis prepared by the city's contractor? Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
John, have a question.
Sure. Go ahead, John.
Yes. Undertaken, this puts us in a position to offer the right material within that 90-day appeal period, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, you may have received a letter that FEMA sent us just today based on an inquiry that I made a couple of days ago, and they shot back, "We don't really care about your stuff."
Yeah.
Well, that's not exactly what they said.
Well,
That's pretty
Yeah.
close, okay.
Well, they're basically indicating that no matter what our request is, they're not going to pay any attention to it, but that they're obligated to during the formal 90-day process. I think the intent was of what you sent to them or what we sent to them jointly was to ask them to kind of take a time out, set the issue aside, and analyze the information, the analysis that had been done by Pacific International Engineering, and tell us where it was wrong. If
That's
they
right.
couldn't tell us where it was wrong, then to adopt it in place of the Corps' hydrology.
And the way I read that letter is FEMA is not sure that it will take a time out, but maybe it will take a time in. That is, as soon as we get this done and submit it to them, they'll consider it as our appeal. So maybe that would shortcut that. That's the way I was reading that letter.
I didn't read that into it. I don't know that technically, Kevin, if they could do that if the appeal period hasn't been identified.
Well, it's certainly not part of what the code says. And the code I'm referring to is what FEMA's own appeal process dictates. I had a chance to briefly read this letter today. It was just received by certified mail to the city today. And while I would reserve the right to look at this much more closely, I think what FEMA is trying to say are generally four things. One, they're reaffirming their jurisdiction over the matter. In other words, FEMA is telling the local jurisdictions that they're the federal agency who has been delegated by the U.S. Congress under the Flood Protection Act as the agency who's responsible and has the authority to determine what these base flood elevations are, and that your resolution tonight is not going to change that jurisdiction or that authority. Two, that the resolution alone will not change FEMA's weight on the data it's going to rely on when it actually does provide a preliminary flood insurance rate map. However, the letter also says that if the city is to submit data, they will evaluate that data and that they may consider it, even if it's submitted before the 90-day appeal process, as a de facto appeal. That's FEMA's position. I'm not going to give you a legal opinion on that matter, but that's, I think, what they're telling you. And lastly, should we not submit a timely appeal, there is an alternative process known as a LOMAR, which is, now I forget what that stands for, a letter of map revision.
That would take decades.
And that is an independent process, and I would ask you that, this resolution tonight basically is directing city staffs jointly to begin preparing a case should